Chapter 10, Section 3, we will be learning about the birth of the Republican Party. The Republican Party was established in 1854 and opposed the expansion of slavery. In Chapter 10, Section 3, we will be learning about the birth of the Republican Party. The Republican Party was established in 1854 and opposed the expansion of slavery. The main idea was in the mid-1850s the issue of slavery and other factors split political parties and led to the birth of new ones. A major example of a political party that split over the issue of slavery is the Whig Party. This matters now because the major political forces in the U.S. remain the Republican and Democratic parties. Horace Greeley was an editor for the New York Tribune. He was assertive about his ideas and beliefs. He was loyal towards abolishing slavery and argued in his columns against popular sovereignty. He was in favor of forcible resistance to slave catchers, and in March 1855, Greeley issued a call to arms for the Friends of Freedom to be girding up their loins for future contests, and join a new anti-slavery political party, the Republican Party. Greeley decided to leave the Whig Party when he became frustrated with the Whig Party's shifting position on slavery. Greeley had been given the power of the printed word when his paper reached over 1 million readers. He was able to influence public opinion across the nation. The nomination of Winfield Scott for president in 1852 and the Kansas and Nebraska Act in 1854 both contributed to the division and decline of the Whig Party. The Whig Party split over the issue of slavery, and the Democratic Party was weak. Scott became the Whig nominee for president. He was supported by the Northern Whigs, who opposed the Fugitive Slave Act and gave little support to the Compromise of 1850. A little review: the Fugitive Slave Act required even the governments and the residents of free states to enforce the capture and return of fugitive slaves, and the Compromise of 1850 included admission of California as a free state, the strengthening of the fugitive slave law, popular sovereignty in Utah and New Mexico concerning the question of slavery, the abolishment of the slave trade in D.C., and the federal assumption of Texas's debt. The Southern Whigs, who backed the compromise to appear both pro-slavery and pro-union. Thus, the Southern Whig vote declined from 50% in 1848 to 35% in 1852. This handed the election to Franklin Pierce, the Democratic candidate. The Kansas-Nebraska Act caused the Whigs to have opposing views on the legislation that involved the issue of slavery. Unable to agree, the Southern Whigs looked for a pro-slavery and pro-union party to join, and the Northern Whigs looked for a political alternative. Nativism is the favoring of native-born Americans over immigrants. The American Party, which later changed its name to the Know-Nothing Party, had its roots in the secret organization known as the Order of the Star-Spangled Banner. The Know-Nothing Party believed in nativism. The party thought that Catholic immigrants were overly influenced by the Pope and could form a conspiracy to overthrow democracy. They had secret handshakes and passwords and were told to answer questions about their activities by saying, "I know nothing." Nativists formed the American Party in 1854, which later became known as the Know-Nothing Party. Nativists were primarily Protestants, primarily middle-class Protestants. Because the Democratic Party courted immigrant voters, the nativists voted for the Know-Nothing candidate. The decline of the Know-Nothing Party was caused because over the split of slavery in the territories. Southern Know-Nothings looked for an alternative to the Democrats. Meanwhile, Northern Know-Nothings began to edge towards the Republican Party.
Members of the Free Soil Party opposed slavery in the territories, but it is also known that many Northerners were Free Soilers without being abolitionists. They supported laws prohibiting black settlement in their communities and denied blacks the right to vote. They also objected to slavery's impact on free white workers in the wage-based labor force. Abolitionist William Lloyd Garrison considered the Free Soil Party a sign of discontent with all things political, reaching for something better. It is a party for keeping free soil and not for settling men free. Many Free Soilers also thought that a conspiracy existed on the part of the diabolical slave power to spread slavery throughout the U.S. In 1848, the Free Soil Party nominated former Democratic President Martin Van Buren. Although Zachary Taylor won the election and Buren only won 10% of the votes, they sent a clear message. Even if some Northerners did not support abolition, they opposed slavery in the territories. The Republican Party was formally organized in Jackson, Michigan by Horace Greeley. They united in opposing the Kansas-Nebraska Act and in keeping slavery out of the territories. They also hoped to resurrect the Missouri Compromise, and the Know-Nothing Party was its main competition. In the election of 1856, they chose John C. Fremont as their presidential candidate. He mapped the Oregon Trail and led U.S. troops into California during the war with Mexico. Northern Know-Nothings supported Fremont, and Southern Know-Nothings selected Millard Fillmore, who had once been a Whig. Democrats nominated James Buchanan of Pennsylvania. He had once been a minister to Great Britain, and although he was a Northerner, most of his Washington friends were Southerners. As minister to Great Britain, he had been out of the country during the disputes over the Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854, so he had antagonized neither the North nor the South, and was seen as the only true national candidate. They also chose John C. Breckinridge of Kentucky as Buchanan's running mate, to balance the support between the North and the South. Buchanan won the entire South except for Maryland, giving him 45% of the votes. Fremont came in second with 33%, and Fillmore in third with 22%. 3 lessons can be drawn from the results of the election of 1856. 1. The Democrats could win the presidency with a national candidate who could compete in the North without alienating Southerners. 2. The Know-Nothings were in decline, and 3. The Republicans were a political force in the North.